moving forward to Kansas State, it's if you remember last year when I was talking about Kansas State, I think they were like top 2 or 3 in the country at that point in time, and you know, there's a lot of the things that I said about them then is going to be about the absolute same thing that I'm going to say about them now, even though they're in a different place. I think they were 6-0, 7-0. It doesn't really matter. Last year at this point, they're 2-4 at this point this year. But much of the same things that I say about them is going to be the exact same thing that I said about them last year. You know, it starts with Bill Snyder and the job that he's done as a head coach, and the program that he's built over, you know, his 22 years that he's been there. I know he was gone for a few years, but got it right back on track fairly quick, obviously with their record that's been the last couple of years. But tremendous football coach that does a lot of things for our profession. You know, that does a lot of things for his kids and start, you know, in building character. Being a very disciplined football team on all 3 sides of the ball, just getting kids to play with tremendous effort. There's a little different of a vibe this year because we have to go there to play as opposed to them come here. They played a phenomenal football game when they came here last year and finished the year very strong. I've been to Kansas State several times, and they built that up from nothing to what you see today. It's a heck of a place to play a college football game. It's going to be 53,000 people there. They're loud, they're rowdy. Their student section is great, which is right behind our bench. It's a challenging place to go play. All venues in the Big 12 are challenging places to go play. So this will be a tremendous challenge for our football team. Offensively, you know, they're searching a little bit for an identity at this point in time. You know, much like a lot of teams, including ourselves, you lose a quarterback of the caliber of what they had last year. It's going to take some time before they get into a rhythm. They've been searching with the 2 kids that they've been playing. It looks to me like they're settling in on Daniel Sams a little bit. They're 2 different type guys. They do different things with their scheme with the 2 of them. We'll have to prepare for both, but you know, Daniel Sams presents problems from an athletic point of view. As their leading rusher, you know, averages over 6 yards per carry, has ran the ball 86 times. We're going to have to keep him in check. He's 6'2", 210 pounds, really fast, very athletic. Will hurt you with his feet. He controlled the clock. The last game they played 2 weeks ago against Baylor, he controlled the game. He controlled the clock, you know, and did a phenomenal job of keeping them in the football game. I anticipate their receivers to be back. They didn't play against Baylor. The Lockett and the Thompson kid that have been there going on. I guess this is their 3rd year now. Thompson's senior year, but they're smaller guys that play on the outside that are dynamic. They're fast. They stretch the field. They make plays. They're great in the return game. We're anticipating them being back, you know, but it does kind of start with that quarterback as far as him making things happen with his feet. If they got those receivers back, they may end up putting the other quarterback in there and throwing to those guys all the time. So we're going to have to adjust. You know, that you can tell they're disciplined. You can tell they're well coached. They play hard. They're searching because of trying to find what their identity is, because they're playing different people. And we just got to recognize that and coach up on the go when we find out what their plan's going to be. Defensively, they lost a lot of seniors last year. We're pretty good last year, I thought. You know, defensively this year it looks the same on film with different people. They're not getting up a ton of points. You know, they're only giving up about 25 points a game. Getting off the field on 3rd down relatively good. Only giving up 150 yards a game rushing. You know, the scheme's the same as it was. Just a well-coached, disciplined football team that plays with a bunch of effort. You know, holds their gaps, gets off blocks, and makes plays. So really doesn't matter who they are. You know, if it's the same people as last year, it look the same as what you see on film. The speed of it's not quite as good, but I do see them getting better and better each and every week that they played, which I would expect nothing else from a Kansas State coached football team. Special teams will be the biggest challenge of the year. You know, their special teams guy, Coach Snyder's son, Sean, has been there for a while with them, and is a solid. They have no weaknesses special teams wise. We need to try to battle and break even. They have, you know, their punter's averaging 43 yards a kick. Their kicker is extremely solid. Got the best snapper in the league. They're good in the return game. You can tell that they spend just a bunch of time in special teams, and there is no weaknesses, and we'll have our work cut out for us. That's been one thing that I've noticed with us over the last couple of games, is continuing to improve on special teams, and we'll need to continue to do that. So it'd be a big challenge for us. Disappointed in the loss last week, like I mentioned after the game. Thought it was a game that we could have won. We got to bounce back from it. We got to move forward, and you know, there's never going to be any easy games, so to speak. So that's welcome to the Big 12. This is what we signed up for, and got to play a tough opponent on the road. So with that, take some questions.
How much does their offense change depending on which quarterback's in the game?
It changes. It changes. I think if you look at ours, it doesn't matter which one was in there. It's going to be relatively the same offense. What they do with the Waters kid, they go a lot of empty. They spread it around. I mean, they even go empty with Sam's. They do that, but it's a little bit more of a pass game. Spread it around, let him throw it around and distribute the ball. And then with Sam's, he's just a bigger run threat. You know, so the schemes and stuff that they do in there with the different personnel is going to change. So you got to prepare for it all. You know, you don't know. If you just take what they did against Baylor, you can do that, but then they have the potential to do the other stuff as well. So by getting those receivers back, and he's tight-lipped on injuries, you guys think I'm bad with it. He's very tight-lipped with injuries. You don't know if they're going to be back or not, but you got to prepare for it.
Dennis, statistically, your pass defense was really good the first 5 games. Big numbers the last 2. As you watch film, can you pinpoint why? Was it just opponent? I mean, obviously they were very good.
Yeah. You know, I was talking with Tony about this earlier, but you look at that Baylor and Texas Tech are pocket passers, and they're pretty good up front. Texas Tech was better up front than I anticipated. They played well up front. Baylor was really sound up front. A little different scheme. They ran the ball, and then play action is 48, 58, 68 yards deep, you know, but a little bit different scheme. But yeah, they were more sit in the pocket and throw the ball around, and they're really good at it. Texas Tech's has improved, you know, each week with it. But you know, Kansas State's probably a little bit more like, you know, with the running game with the quarterback. You know, the teams that we played prior to Baylor were all against quarterbacks that were runners. You know, JW would run around, and Brown over at Maryland would run around, and the Oklahoma guy would run around. So we're facing teams that were running the quarterback a good bit, and we showed that we defended that pretty good. You know, we just got to work on it. You know.
Coach, I know you like to focus on one game at a time, but now that you're kind of past the halfway point, have you talked with the guys at all about needing the 3 wins to get to a bowl game, or is it strictly Kansas State at this point?
It's Kansas State right now. You know, I mean, it's you know, a bowl game is important, but a 4th win is a little more important at this point. So, you know, we haven't got to the point where I feel like we need to talk about motivation to win. I think the motivation to win is there. If you're not able to execute things, then you're not going to win. So we're continuing to focus on being able to execute better. Offensively, I think we executed better last week, and I was extremely disappointed with how we finished the game, especially offensively. But prior to that, we were moving the ball better, and we got into a rhythm and a flow that hadn't existed in some of the most of the previous games. So, you know, and then defensively, we got to continue to improve. We've shown where we can play at a high level. We've shown where we can play at a very low level. So we need consistency on defense. We need to continue to improve offensively and get into a rhythm, and then we need to continue to glue it together with special teams and get better at what we're asking them to do, which will lead to a victory. And then as you get closer, you know, obviously going to a bowl game is one of our goals that we have as a program, and we obviously want to meet that goal.
You said a week ago that third down conversions have been atrocious, was the word you used. Do you see some improvements, at least for 2.5 quarters on Saturday?
Yeah, it was better. It was better. I can't remember the stat on it, but it was clearly better until we got to the fourth quarter. And everybody's like, well, why your 4 or 5 drives? Why did those 4 or 5 drives look different than the previous 7 drives? Well, we just didn't execute, you know, and the game was on the line, and I saw Texas Tech up their game and execute their calls a little better than we did.
Sounds like
whether you want to call them good calls or bad calls, and you can put the calls on me. I mean, that's fine. We didn't execute. We didn't execute on all 3 sides of the ball as good as we needed to. They did. They were able to win the game.
Sounds like you think Kansas State's better than their record.
Yeah, they are. You know, and I think we're better than our record. You know, and if you just look at their previous 3 games, I mean, that first one against North Dakota State, I mean, that happens. North Dakota State's a good football team. I think we're all aware of that. You know, but the last 3, you know, at Texas having a chance to win, at Oklahoma State having a chance to win, at home against Baylor after they throttled us, had a chance to win. I mean, they're a good football team. They're searching. You know, nobody wants to hear an excuse about not winning a game because of level of competition, whether it's at West Virginia, whether it's at Kansas State. Nobody wants to hear the excuse about not winning a game because of inexperience. You know, whether it's at Kansas State or whether it's at West Virginia. You know, that nobody wants to hear those excuses, so line up, get better, and try to go win.
What did they do to slow down Baylor? What did they do so effectively, and how does that play into how they might match up against you guys?
Stop the run. I mean, they're thick up front in the middle, and they play with just tremendous technique and tremendous effort. And you know, they're going to give you 5 in the box. You know, they gave Baylor 5 in the box, which so did we, and they ran right through us, right? But they did, you know, Baylor does a good job of coming right off the ball and moving us. You heard me talk about moving the line of scrimmage. They did not move the line of scrimmage against Kansas State, so that's going to pose problems. Hopefully, it doesn't pose problems. Hopefully, we can handle that, but it's going to be a challenge for us up front. On blocking their guys. They do a great job with their D-line and their backers of holding their gaps on the line of scrimmage and not letting them establish the line of scrimmage. They played physical against Baylor.
And what did you see out of the line then last week? Were you happy with
our guys?
Yeah.
I thought we improved. We improved up front. Didn't finish the game with a winning effort. But we improved, and you know, Texas Tech was giving us the run. They were giving us the numbers. And in the past, we've shown that where we still can't handle that. But we rushed for 170 in the first half or whatever. So, and it's not just run game. Our pass protection is getting better, and we improved with that. We got to keep improving.
Coach, it's been kind of a rough year for former Gundy offensive coordinators, term head coaches, especially Tom at Southern Miss and Larry at UNC, have coming from like the same coaching tree, I guess. Have their struggles surprised you, and having success in your first year? And would you have like any words of encouragement for them?
I know those guys pretty well. They're going to do a good job. I haven't followed what they're doing. I've got my own problems. We're gonna worry about what's happening here in Morgantown.
What's your philosophy on kick return?
Score. Okay, here's what happened with kick return. I know where you're going with this because we got pinned inside the 10, 3 times? Well, Tech did a good job of pinning it, which we knew they would. So if they pin it, you go that way, and you're going to get to the 20 to the 25, which we did, and then it just converges and you stop. So what you do is you do that, and if you're happy being on the 20 or 25, and after we got pinned inside the 10 our second time or our third time, I said, we can't try this anymore. But what you try to do is when they pin you, you try to go here, and then you try to fan it back to the field. And if there's about 4 guys back here that got to get their blocks, if one of those 4 miss their blocks, there's a free guy that can get you inside the 10. But if you make that block, you got a chance to score. So we tried that once, got pinned. Tried it another time, got pinned. And I can't remember if there was a 3rd time or not. But that's when we made the decision just to go straight with it and get it to the 20 or the 25 and be happy with that and move on.
How about when a guy fields it in the end zone? I mean, is there a distance where you say don't return it from?
A couple yards into it's okay. You know, and when they changed the rule where you know, they have to, they get the 5-yard rule where they can't take a 15-yard start. You know, that I saw a lot of teams backing that threshold up to where they were catching it 5, 6, 7 yards deep and still bringing it out. What we've told our guys is if you're a step or 2 in, then go ahead and take it out. You know, 5 yards to me is too risky.
Couple offensive linemen injuries toward the end of the game. Any update on Pat especially?
Yeah, they're good. They worked out here earlier. I anticipate they were in the weight room this morning lifting and all that, so I anticipate them being fine. It's, you know, Tech was physical. It's a physical game in the trenches. You know, I mean, there's going to be times where guys get nicked up if they can't play through it. Then you got to get the guys like Marquise went in and got quality snaps, and Tyler Orlowski went in and got quality snaps, and Adam Pankey went in and got quality snaps. Those guys need to be able to go in there and play a series and keep it going without taking a step back. And they got better last week, I thought, so they need to continue to do that.
Do you do anything differently road trip wise this year, or I should say this week, in comparison to what you did previous to Baylor or Maryland?
Well, Maryland was the bus trip, you know, over, you know, we always try to get to the hotel at the same time, whether it's home, whether it's away. You know, so we'll probably get over there about 5 o'clock, you know, and you know, where we're staying is not far, so it's not much travel time. Like Baylor was all that transition time, so we had to, you know, make some adjustments for that. We're gonna send some operations people to the airport before the game's over to make sure TSA is there to where we can get on the plane and get back at a decent hour so we can have a normal Sunday schedule. I'm sure you would appreciate that as well. That it? Wonderful. See y'all later.